introduction. Introduce yourself.
Hi, it's Nick with Next Level again. Welcome back. We're going to do more mobility segments. So I have two friends with me. They can introduce themselves here.
Anicia, I am a bodybuilder.
I'm Maddie. I'm just here.
Just here.
Just here, more of a lifestyle friend.
So they were telling me that they have some knee issues, some knee pains, and a lot of that can stem from different reasons, whether you have it doesn't always come from the knee. Right? Sometimes it comes from your hip, sometimes it comes from your ankle. Okay, so we're going to focus on a couple of different techniques today to really integrate some of the mobility flow. So these can be used as a warm-up, a cool-down, you name it. You can do it intra-workout.
Okay.
You can use this for power development, whatever you want to do.
All right.
So the key to it is to take it slow, is not to rush it. If you go quick, then you lose all the focus of the entirety of the exercise. So what I teach is called Kinstretch, or functional range conditioning.
Okay.
It is a form of stretch training. So we're going to use all body weight today. So we don't need any props unless I decide I want to bring out a yoga block. So we're going to start with the basics. We'll start with some hip cars. Okay, so we're going to go on all fours today. I'm going to have them watch first while I demonstrate. So starting from here, I'm going to do my right leg. The idea is to get as big of a circle as you can, but slow. So what I'm doing here is bringing my knee up as high as I can, squeezing in the glutes, bringing my leg out to the side as much as I can, and then kicking the leg up and back. You want to feel all the movement coming from the hip as you go. So here I can feel the hip socket moving, keeping it as big as possible of a circle. Okay.
Mine are going to click and clack.
That's fine. The way I think about the clicks and clacks is when you're getting all the spider webs out of your hips. It's like putting a little WD-40 in.
Okay.
So I want you to think about it while you do these exercises like you're waving through syrup. Not just through air, but through syrup. So real thick air. Okay, so we're gonna go nice and slow. Yep, bring it up high as you can, as much as you can up. Rotate the foot up in the air and bring it back. Okay, go ahead. And then back around. So you wanna go forward first, as far forward as you can. Good, and then as far out as you can. And the entire time, focus on keeping your hips square to the floor. Now we're doing this in a quadruped position, so we can do this in any position. We can do this standing, you could do this seated. You can do it laying down if you wanted to.
Sounds like my kind.
It's kind of like doing a hip opener exercise, but you want to go with the flow, go nice and slow. Now we'll do the other side. And nice and slow. So when you do it too, you'll be able to feel the differences in your hips. You'll be able to feel like where you have a lack of mobility. So this is a great way to self-diagnose, is to sit there and say, okay, what felt different between this leg and that leg? Why does this do this? Why does this do that? And then we think about getting to the root cause. And usually I do an assessment at that point. I'll do an assessment on people and put them on the table, or I'll watch how they do their mobility like this. Like when I see you do it, I can see you have an issue bringing all the way up and all the way out.
Yeah.
Like this, almost like you're stuck somewhere in the hip.
It felt better on the right side.
My left feels better.
Okay. And then once you're done, we'll move on to knees. Now you say, Nick, how does that work? How am I able to just move my knees like that? That doesn't make any sense. So we're actually going to go ahead and put your knee like into a chokehold. This is step one. No one else has fun socks but me.
Yeah.
So sorry guys, that's a requirement. Video's over. So we're going to start like this. And think about like if I put a big metal rod in the top of your knee here and shot it all the way down through your heel. That's the axis we're going to move on. So when we do it, we're not just moving at our ankle. We're going to move actually from a bone that sits just below your kneecap, so that's called your tibia. And there's a little notch right in here. You can probably feel it if you actually put your fingers right on it. That's your tibial tuberosity. So that's essentially just like a big like notch in the tibial bone. So when you're doing it, you should actually be able to feel it move side to side.
Yeah.
Right? Interesting. So we just go. You should be able to feel that bone move back and forth.
Okay.
That's how you know you're doing it right. See? And there are ways to stretch the knee and to stretch those areas. Like for one, we do a technique just like this. It's called the pails and rails technique. So what we're doing now are Carr's techniques, and that's doing this just to loosen up. We use that to maintain mobility and strength in the knee and in other parts of the body. We use a pails and rails technique to really build the mobility. So if I had, per se, a client who really couldn't, like maybe they're done with surgery or maybe they're hurting real bad in their knee, I can give them a pails and rails technique to help build mobility. And then from there, they're able to move a little bit better. So we use that to acquire new end range in your knee. So go ahead and just keep warming up some Carrs. We got old Kendrick playing too. Got some good tunes on today. Yep, so take it slow. Because we'll eventually transition to the ankle next. And it goes all the way down to like the toes and the fingers and little things like that too. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, I was told by the therapist that she didn't really assess me. It was like a friend. She mentioned it might be my quad. That's the problem.
Okay, so maybe your quad isn't stretched out.
She thinks it's up here, and maybe like it's one of the muscles in my quad are like weak.
Okay.
Or something.
So there are ways to stretch and isolate that muscle too. And there's different types of strength training that you can do. We can go over some moves with that. And then there are ways that we can employ the functional range conditioning to get that strong too. So I've got a whole plethora of mobility on for today because I've got legs tonight, so I gotta get ready to go for it. I gotta get warmed up now, so I'm ready for my 2-hour leg day later.
There you go.
So anyway, so now we're gonna move on to the other side. If you didn't do the other leg, let's do the other one. You can't pay attention to one, not the other. And as you do it too, you want to focus on getting as much in and out. As much inversion and eversion. And a lot of the training like this, it's slow, but it's meant to be. It's not meant to be like really quick. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the ankle. You can just get comfortable. You want to have a little leverage. So I kind of like to just kind of lay back, put my ankle on top of the other foot. And now, you ever do like an ankle circle or you write like your ABCs? If you ever had like an ankle injury, you probably did that in therapies. I don't know if you guys ever had ankle injuries, so though. No, okay. That's okay though. No worries. So what you want to do is make the biggest circle that you can when you're doing it. So a regular joint circle, like we had talked about earlier, is just kind of doing it like this. Like it's not doing anything, and I'm just moving it around. It's okay to loosen up really quick, but it's not enough. So you want to get all the ranges of your ankle and really utilize everything you have. So you want to start by bringing your foot as high as you can, just like if you were coming off the gas. Now we're going to bring that foot in as much as possible, and I want you to notice how you did it. A lot of people, when they do that motion, do this. The whole leg. They don't know how to separate mind from body, so they have to do this. When I do it and I have somebody like that who can't do it, I just put my hands right here, and all of a sudden, like magic, they don't move. Like a little thing like that, just magic. So we're going to be here, moving in, and like you're stepping on the gas, really flooring it like you got a really nice car too. And then as far as you can. Like, not like my Dodge Dart out there. I'm going to pretend I'm driving a Viper when I do that. I want to be cool, man. You can probably hear my ankle cracking and clicking too. That's actually a fun story, but I won't tell it for the camera. And then we can go the other way too. After you do enough of these, you start to really feel it. Like you see how your whole leg is moving? Even just that little bit, I caught you.
Yeah, like when I get over here, I feel mine turn in. I'm like, no, go back down. Like,
So
that's
that's
as far as it goes. That's as far as it goes.
Yep, and we focus on as far as you can get it, without the compensation of other muscles. Then we employ different techniques. So this is just a level 1 car, which is just body weight. When you get to level 2 is when we start putting different blockades in. So maybe I would then put like a block here and say, okay, you can't knock it over. Or that's when I could use my hands and say, okay, you can only move from there, but you can't move the whole leg. And we're going to have to practice just some of those pails and rails techniques to get out that way. And then we'll do the other side. And again, I want you to monitor as you go. Like, does your left ankle move better than your right? Is there any pain in these movements? If there is, then you got to make a smaller circle. So guys, I watch you do this one. I notice this leg doesn't move nearly as much as the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you see enough people do it, you can really start to kind of dial in on the little compensations. Like when we do shoulder, you would see the little things happening.
Yeah, this ankle is definitely
Mm-hmm. And usually that says like you might have had some kind of injury prior or some kind of trauma to that area, or maybe just there's an imbalance somewhere in the muscle.
my hips are all coming. Like I stand like this.
Like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes squat stance.
Every time
One
I
leg
squat-
is slightly more back.
Yeah.
I'll have to see that then. Because sometimes a couple of sessions like this and you all of a sudden these things are cleared out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's just some basic stuff for the legs. I know, easy peasy, not a crazy workout. Not yet. It does get worse. So it's like, not yet, not today. What's that, more legs? Okay. So the reason I started with the hips, and I do the shoulder for everybody too, is because those are ball and socket joints. If you're not familiar, a ball and socket joint is basically like this. So think of it like this. It's in a cup, and that's how it moves all around. So you're able to do more with that movement. So you can go all the way back and up and around, whereas like your knee is more of a hinge joint. So it only does this. Or your elbow only does that. So for the audience out there, you're welcome. So we're going to go ahead and move on to some pails and rails techniques. So these are going to be more dialed in. These are going to be what builds mobility. So like in your case, you say you struggle with some squats, right? And you say you struggle with knee pain. So we're going to try a nice 90-90 position first. It's kind of like half of a pigeon. I don't know if you've ever done yoga before, but a pigeon is like getting like this. Okay. So we're going to do a 90-90 position, which is like this. So you want to think right angle in the back, right angle in the front. And you want to find a spot where you get good tension. So you want to feel a good stretch, like in the front. You'll probably feel some tension in the back hip. That's normal. This is a lot of internal rotation of your hip. So your hip is not used to that kind of work. So then normally what you would do is you would just sit in this position for 2 minutes. It's a 2-minute stretch, then followed up with all the work. And there is some science behind it too. I don't remember all of it, I'm going to be honest. It's been so long since I've really explained why the science is. But essentially there's some really finite like molecules and muscles or cells that are in your body within the muscles that kind of turn off after 2 minutes. Like basically the stretch reflex turns off after 2 minutes, to put it nicely. So you know when you get into a really deep stretch and that's it, right? Well, that turns off after a certain amount of time. You kind of just get used to it. You adjust to that. So then afterwards, what happens is we take advantage of that after the 2 minutes. And then we start building mobility because now we're doing active work. We're doing end range work. So like, for example, we're going to sit here for 2. And then I'll show you what to do after. So we're going to just twiddle our thumbs for 2 minutes. So now this whole thing could be a workout of its own. Just a whole Kinstretch session is like a workout on its own because it's hard. And the amount of effort you put in is what you get out of it. So if you put in a little bit of effort, you'll get a little bit of results. You put a lot of effort in, you'll get a lot of results.
How do you make it like hard? Like by like leaning?
Oh, you'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see.
You can show us.
Yeah, you'll see where it gets hard. Right, Dustin? Exactly. He wouldn't know. He didn't do a Kinstretch session yet. He says, I'm too afraid. I'm too scared. He's breaking something. Yeah, so when I teach it in class, oh, this is a great song. So when I teach this in class, I have different ways of manipulating the body when we do it. So sometimes we'll do like hover techniques or lifting techniques where you just kind of lift your leg off the ground. That's a lot harder than it looks actually.
Yeah.
Other times it's more of a stretch, so we get kind of like deep into it. There's a specific way that I want you to stretch too, so we're not going to focus on just getting down there like this. You want to stay tall as you go down, and then we would get that, so you get more of a tension line.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's all I needed.
Yep, see? That's it. That's it.
Hamstrings are probably the tightest thing.
Okay, screaming,
Yeah, because I hit them 3 days a week.
that's gross.
Yeah.
I hit them twice. That's enough for me.
Same.
Yeah, twice is enough. I guess unless you count all my days that I do this, then I guess it's 4. But I don't do that. I don't do that much. Usually, I just kind of let everyone do it in class, and then I sometimes join in.
Yeah.
They're like, "No, I don't need any more. I don't need no more. It's okay. It's okay. Stop." But depending on the clientele, I have some people where they have knee pains or knee replacements that I work with, and they can't do 100%. So I'm not going to make them force it into 100% of what they can do.
Yeah.
So when I say that, I mean like when we start to work, this is 100% of internal effort. I mean, you're going to be pushing pretty hard to do it. Some people it's like 25%, but when we do it, we don't start from 0 to 100. You got to build.
Yeah.
You want to build tension. Think of it like starting with a set of squats. You don't just go from nothing to max weight right away, I would hope. I'd hope.
You build up.
I'd hope we build up. All right, so maybe you do a set of 5 here to start up, and then maybe you do another set of 5, and then maybe you dial it up to whatever, and then you start hitting your working weights. All right, or maybe if you're like me, I like to do, like if I'm going to do squats that day, I'll start with some leg extensions or adductor work or something, and then I'll get into it. So I'm at least doing something to fire up the muscle, and then of course I'll do the same thing for squats. I'll do like a light set and then a heavy set. But for this, it's the same thing. So what we are going to do, after 2 minutes, I want you to find your best line of tension. So we're going to work on the front hip here. You should feel that like right in the back of the hamstring by the glute. Okay. What we're going to focus on first is pressing into the floor. So the whole leg. I want you to think like from the knee, the ankle, the hamstring, the glute. Everything should be activated here.
I just did that. It's like pinching.
Mm-hmm. So now none of it should hurt. None of it should be painful, I should say. Like it shouldn't cause sharp pains. It should just cause like muscle fatigue. That's how I want you to think about muscular fatigue, not pain. Big difference. So when I have older clients who say, this really hurts, I'm like, okay, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Dial that in for me. Does it actually? They're like, no, it's just a stretch. I'm like, okay, so you're fine. Keep going. So now we're going to dial it up. If you weren't pressing more than 25%, I want you to start to 25. Okay, we're going to go to 50. So press a little harder. By the time we hit 70, you really should be visibly shaking because you're pushing very hard. So now we're going to dial up to 70. So I want you to push front leg and the back leg now. Establish a base. So now your back leg is working.
When I do that, my knee starts to tingle.
So that's a tingle. Is it painful?
Not painful, but it tingles.
But it's tingles, so you're aware of it now. The nerves are firing. How about you over there? You doing okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're locked in. I'm ready. Okay. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to do sacral nutation while we're doing this. So that just means we're going to bring our butt back. Kind of like if you're doing a Romanian deadlift, how you're bringing your butt back. Same idea here. So you want to start bringing your butt back to increase the stretch. Continue to press down as you do it. Okay. Really think about like dragging your leg back. The front leg you want to drag back. Okay, now here's the fun part. Try to lift your front leg.
Yeah, okay.
It's not happening.
As you do it, widen your base. So now you should feel that in the front of your hip. Okay. So 3 more seconds. 2, 1. Don't come out of the stretch. Stay in it, but just relax. It might be uncomfortable. Probably is. But this is how you now establish the new mobility. So it's a lot of end range training. So what we're doing is breaking old limits and increasing them, right? So now you have new ranges of motion. And you might think, how does this matter? This position doesn't do anything for me. You'll see it when you start to do your next set of like heavy leg days. So when you do squats, you'll find you can open up a little bit more. Now the part is getting out of it and then switching. Now the fun part is we only did one side. Now you got to do all that again for the other side. And there's a hard way to transition, but I'm going to save you that effort. And we're going to just do the easy way of transitioning.
Yeah, it's easy.
Take it easy. Take it easy. You know, first time. Okay. So we'll establish our base again. And we'll just relax. And then after each time I do a pails and rails, I like to follow up with a set of bars, just because it's a nice way to relax the muscle. And then you can work. Now you're doing work in that you just acquired. Yes. Okay. Now just sit and relax. It's a little Q&A. How long have you been coaching?
Since
June.
yeah.
Nice.
Newer.
How long have you been doing bodybuilding kind of stuff?
Bodybuilding specifically, like, started in April, but I've been weightlifting since high school.
Okay. Because I had a coach too at one point actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked with a guy named Tim. Funny enough, not him, not the guy over there. I had a coach named Tim, and he would work with me on my nutrition and on my supplementation and whatever I would need, and then on my workouts. And then I found out that's actually how I realized I had a gluten insensitivity. So, stuff just like that. You start avoiding those kinds of things, and all of a sudden, all that stuff sheds away.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened for me during prep.
Yeah.
I canceled out some beef types of food. I couldn't believe like digestion and
Oh.
yeah.
It all just goes away
Yeah.
until you start eating like that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like you have one day where you have pasta, you're like, oh my god, nah, oopsies. And then how long have you been weight training?
Probably about 3 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of your goals?
I just want to build mass mainly because I've been like really skinny my whole life. So I just want to look. I don't necessarily want to be like super shredded or anything, but I just want to look like bigger and stronger.
So Ronnie Coleman isn't in the works for you?
Not quite there. No. What about you?
Ronnie Coleman. Definitely. Definitely. No, I just want to look like I'm athletic.
Yeah.
That's the big piece. Look athletic. I would put on some more size, so I'm starting a bulk phase next.
Okay. Nice.
I'm going to run that through the rest of the year, and then it's time for shredding again for the summer.
Yeah.
I had we did a whole contest here for 12 weeks, and that was enough cutting for me.
Yeah.
That's enough cutting for that time. So no more.
Yeah.
So now it's probably been about 2 minutes. So same thing, just like before. Start with just the front leg, just nice and light. Let the muscle warm up. Okay, now we're going to go to 25. So now it's just a little harder. And when you do it too, don't just push from the hip. Push like from the foot and the knee and the hip. So push from all over. You should be able to feel everything light up as you go. Okay, now we'll go to 50. So now that front leg is working pretty hard. Okay, take a deep breath in. Let's go to 70. Back leg activates. Okay, so you should be working really hard. Think of it like it's a really heavy deadlift, a really heavy 1 rep max squat. So now we're going to dial all the way up to everything you got. Max effort. Really push. You can grab the sides of the mat if you need to for extra. Really squeeze it. And I want you to lean your butt back. Drop your whole body forward, lean your butt back. Stretch, really increase. Okay, on 3, I want you to lift that leg up. 1, 2, 3. Front leg. I expect it to go absolutely nowhere. And relax. All right, so now your hips are a little bit more open. Yes, they're probably sore and hurt, but that goes away after a while, I promise. Okay. Now we can come out of it. Hard.
I feel like I'll be real loose. Finally.
You'll be like jelly after.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple more techniques I want to show off. So we can do some hamstring work, and we can do some quad work. Sound fair?
Yeah, I like it.
So I've got a really fun one that I like to do in class every so often. So I'll start with a, I forgot what it was called, but it's like a nice long stretch. So the way we do it is we work reciprocals. So to stretch your hamstrings, we're going to work your quads. What? So when you do it, you're going to lift. It's like that brain moment. What's that? You're going to lift that leg up as high as you can.
Oh, man.
You're going to lean forward. Okay. Just going to hold that stretch. And press your foot into the ground. You feel your hamstrings work now? So now as you do that, you should feel all that light up in the back. Take a deep breath in. Come back up. Lift up again. And we'll come forward. As you get to the bottom here, press your heel into the ground. Now you may cramp, that is normal. So as that happens, you want to really flex in that muscle if you start to cramp, because that's how it relieves itself. If it's really bad, then you just have to wiggle it out. Okay, and then come back up. We'll do that again. Lift it up high. Come forward. And press down. Okay, come back up. So now when it comes to different types of populations, like if I have athletic populations, like the ones who want to really compete in sports, it's a little bit more power based. So like that pails and rails technique that we did just before, I would probably shorten it. I would do 2-minute bursts, but then I would do more burst training. So I might say, okay, 0 to 100 like this, like this, to initiate like short plays or something. Like if you're a football player, you're only playing, really running on the field for only so much time at one time. Even baseball players, softball players, etc. Same idea. It's all quick bursts. Long distance runners, it's a little bit more different, but the thought process is the same. You want to have more power, more mobility. So when I train those kinds of people, I want to train for power. When it comes to general populations, just what we did before is perfectly fine. So whether you're bodybuilding or just lifestyle and just want that physique, you want that look, this would be a great way to open up your hips, open up your knees, your ankles, etc., no matter what you're doing. So there's a little difference, but it really depends on the circumstance.
Yeah.
So we'll do one more, and then I have another fun one for you.
All right.
I guess it depends on what you call fun. So we'll get in here, get a good stretch. So now when you come up, your leg is going to come with you like this. Okay? So you'll take a deep breath in, fill your belly with air, get as much air into you as you can, and then you're going to lift the whole thing up like that. And keep it as high as you can. Done.
I got a cramp.
So now we can draw little animals too. So I like to make it fun, like I say, draw a pig and
I'm getting a quad workout.
that's it's fake. Take it off.
Yeah, I like this. Not surviving that.
And that's like a different kind of training. So now it's endurance training when I do something like that. So rather than maximum strength, I do maximum endurance. So when I do that in class, sometimes I'll set it up for a minute. And now imagine doing this and then maybe drawing for 1 minute.
Wow.
No,
really hurts,
Yeah.
really hard. Right, Deb?
Unscrew it and show them.
Done.
I write the alphabet with my legs like that.
Oh yeah, I've had her do that. So she's done a couple of my classes before too.
Okay.
We need more Deb cameos. So now we'll do the other side. And we'll start with those stretches like before. Lifting up and just getting in there. And that's kind of the beauty of it, is everyone is different. So where one person might have the ability to get all the way down in a squat, someone else might not. So now if I'm training, let's say, for that specific workout, that specific range of motion, I can then set up different assistances. And so long as everyone's still working on the same thing, it doesn't change the outcome of the class. I'll say if we're working on hip opening, so long as you're opening your hips, I don't care how you sit, as long as it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll come back up. Come back up again. And when I do classes, I always start with teaching just basic CARS exercises, because I want you to understand how your body works first.
Yeah.
Once you figure out how to really get the nitty gritty, then we start throwing some curveballs.
Okay.
So this would be like a curveball. Like, okay, now you think that's easy. Okay, let's just make it more challenging.
Yeah.
Come back up. Okay, same thing, come up nice and high. And try to stay as tall as you can as you go down. So you see how I stop here? Despite being able to get all the way down here, because I have to round my back. That's a compensation. So you want to stay as tall as you can as you go.
Makes a big difference.
It's only moving, when we do these things, it's only moving from that specified joint or muscle. So like in this case, because we are trying to stretch the hamstring, me rounding in the back only compensates. It doesn't help.
That's what it helps.
We'll come back up. Same thing like when we did the hip CARs. You might have noticed as you did it, maybe your back turned with it, right? Maybe you had to do like one weird thing with your hand. Okay, that's a compensation. I see that the most with shoulder work. So when I do a shoulder CAR, a lot of people like to do this with their wrists. And I have to tell them like that's actually a compensation, because you don't have that range of motion because your wrist has to move with it. So we start to learn how to really manipulate the body and really understand how the mind and body connection works when we do this kind of mobility training. So we'll do one more of these. And just like before, press down, deep breath in, activate the quad, so flex your quad first, now push up. Big difference, right?
Yeah.
Because now we primed the quad as opposed to just lifting up. And she cramped. She got one more second. Let's see who's gonna win.
Definitely you.
Yeah, I'm already thinking about it then.
I definitely couldn't have moved my foot.
That's it. You can just hear mine crunching. And as you do this a lot too, like, yeah, you fight it till the end. So as you start to train this kind of way too, you'll realize that you'll have more strength, because now you can tap into different muscles. So when I do strength training with people and I'm telling them that we use Kinstretch for this, they'll say, well, this isn't hard. Like, what are you talking about? Or they'll say, well, why would I want to do that? Well, when you think about it, when you're doing a heavy exercise, what happens? You either fail or you go all out.
Yeah.
So like any muscle, it's the all or nothing principle. You want to give it as much as you can. You either fire all muscles or none. So if I'm doing a heavy bench press, you best believe I'm getting not just my arms and my chest and my delts involved, I'm getting my back, I'm getting my legs involved, I'm getting my core, everything to get that weight up.
Yeah.
And then it's controlled and as hard as it can going up. Or like a heavy squat, right? I'm getting everything involved, I'm dialing into the floor. And I use a lot of imagery techniques too. I learned this actually in college. I took a class, funny enough, it was a dance class. I didn't know it was a dance class when I signed up. We did one dance, but a lot of it was deep anatomy, and it took it and made you understand common objects. So like your legs, think of them like kind of like screws, and how as you go into something, you can screw into the floor. So when I squat, I actually think of my foot as like an eagle's talon, and you have those different touch points. So then you claw the floor and just grip it, and then all of a sudden you can sit in a deep squat. Right?
That's probably going to give you that full rotation too throughout your
Yeah,
hips, which makes
and that gives you that whole rotation, exactly. It gives you all that. And then it's thinking about how do I engage everything. I think of the imagery of like a trampoline below me so I can spring up. So like little things like that are really big when it comes to just that one rep or that failed rep.
Yeah.
The little nitty gritties. But anyway, that's about it for now.
Yeah, that was awesome.
You know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks for joining me. That was a nice little mobility segment there.
Yeah.
So I'll have to take a look at your squat when we're done too. I want to see how this looks.